Let's just close our eyes for a minute and imagine that we have just woke up and we found ourselves back in the past. Let's say it's 1972. We're in the street, still with our eyes closed, and we hear the sounds of the noises that we haven't heard in years. We may not have even thought about them for years, so that's what we're going to talk about today. From the moment we wake up until the moment we went to bed, in a typical city or town in Britain, are those sounds that we don't hear anymore. Even before some of us would even wake up to that ringing bell of the alarm clock with no snooze button and no throwing it across the room, because that ain't going to stop the bell unless of course you broke the clock. You knew it was time to start your day. But for most of us, we may have already heard the hooter from the local factory calling all workers to do their early shifts. It's all part of the soundtrack of our daily lives 50 or 60 years ago. For those not starting work too early, they would listen to the sound of the glass rattling on the doorstep, and if you had a happy milkman, his whistling, and the thud of the newspaper landing on the hallway floor. So breakfast and its accompanying daily news features, we were all set. No morning TV to distract you or stop you from getting motivated. These were the days where most people got their post in the morning before work, and it was mail, it wasn't junk. You perhaps have the radio on in the kitchen giving cheer, news, weather updates, in between playing the Osmonds or Mod the Hoople. And remember the sound of the door knocking, an actual knocker, brass hitting brass, or a simple ding-dong of the doorbell with no fancy tunes. Well, it's provided the battery wasn't flat. The era of kids, they would call for their friends to walk to school. Sometimes parents would ask you in and offer you a drink if your mate was running late. The workplace, it's so different all those years ago, eh? Ringing telephones in the office, just a basic ring, or some place would have that large extension bell, so you could hear it all over the building, in such as large factories or large car mechanic places. Walking in the office, there will be an amazing sound of that manual typewriter with those keys being pressed at high speed. The sound of the letters hitting that paper, what I thought was 100 words per minute. How did those secretaries type so fast and hardly make a mistake? That astounded me. But you had the odd blob of Tipex every now and again, and the odd word damn. Then there was the PA that we called the tannoy, which was a large horn speaker with a message such as telephone for manager, telephone call. Remember, we all had telephone voices back then, didn't we? And people were taunted trying to put their posh voice on. Did you have a telephone voice? Factory machines that made people shout to be heard until that siren or hooter went off to tell you, tools down, it's break time. Then suddenly, the whole factory floor went deadly quiet. Canteen noises awaited. Workers sat together in chat, in between the sounds of rattling plates and metal knives and forks, all being picked up at the same time, and the drinks machines all whirring out that nasty tea or watery coffee. Do you remember that soup? I think it was chicken or vegetable soup. It was awfully weak, and all the powder was down at the bottom, so you'd have to dip your finger in to get the flavour, and it was very salty but kind of nice, to be honest. And then you'd hear the ringing bells of the tills, ching, as the cash drawer opened, which was full of rattling coins and very few notes. And talking of bells, what about that lonely handheld bell that we all remember from school, rang by the teacher or a trusted pupil, calling all kids to start school or return from breaks or go to dinner or lunch? Then there was the sound of the school playing grounds, skipping, and singing skipping songs as they did, such as Oranges and Lemons and Here We Go Round the Mulberry Bush, or lads kicking football. Sometimes the sound of a window smashing as a ball went straight through it. Not a popular sound, though. Bells were ringing everywhere. Church bells on Sundays. Press once on that bell if you wanted the bus to stop on those old route masters. Now there was a code, a conductor code. He would ring the bell once to stop, ring the bell twice to continue past the next stop or to start up again. 3 dings meant that the bus was too full, no new passengers, and there were 4 presses on the bell, which meant assistance required, maybe a medical emergency or passenger incident, and the bus was to stop immediately. They used to use a rope that ran along the ceiling of the lower deck that led to the driver's cab, and they just pushed down on it. That's why passengers saw the buttons marked press once if we wanted the bus to stop at the next stop. It was not to confuse the driver. I'm sure there may be more bells that we're going to hear or talk about later on in this video. But while we're on the bus, there was the sound of the ticket machines, either the conductor rolling them out in their hands, or on those heavy machines that they must have weighed a ton. Or the one-man operated buses, the bus driver would press a few buttons and your ticket will be printed out. This is still relevant today, but the difference between the silence of the passengers on the way to work in the early mornings, then changing to the chatter of shoppers or families travelling later on, it was remarkable. How long ago did we hear the phrase, "Fares please" from the conductor, or "room on top only"? And I have to say, maybe that chatter that we get on the buses was far more before than it is today. And for those who were commuting by train, those slam doors of those old locomotives, and the long whistle from the guard that meant you were on your way. And I used to love those non-corridor trains. I know it's got nothing to do with sounding, but imagine, they were first class apparently, springy seats, soft lighting, privacy. I loved them. Now for those staying at home, or doing a weekly shop, we have many sounds that we just don't hear today. There was the noise of the twin tub and the spinner, the egg timer, or even the countdown on the oven telling you to check your roast. Told you there'd be more bells. The noise of the rotary dialer on those old telephones before push-button models. Mind you, even the push-button ones. You could hear those pulses going down the line as you pressed each button before we turned on to multi-frequency dialing. Those really loud vacuum cleaners that were really heavy, and the steam that came out of those pressure cookers. Although pressure cookers are used today, they used to scare me. I know I'm going to get called a wimp, but I didn't like them. Shopping sounds. The noise of those old manual tills all clicking away at the supermarket, and those operators are so quick on those numbers. Market traders all shouting their wares. Come on ladies, get your bananas. When it's gone, it's gone. And let's not forget the man at the lonely newspaper stand. Come on, get your city final. Motor cars were louder, perhaps not so efficient, but you could definitely hear them coming. And here's what you hear less of today: the supermarket tannoy, either announcing your bargains or calling out for a lost child. Was it me, or were they difficult to understand? And if you went into the local shop, friendly chatter or gossip. And what about leisure? Those old electrical, mechanical fruit machines where you heard the reels click, halting one by one, and if you were lucky, you'd get coins rattling out the machine. So everybody in the cafe or the pub knew you had a win. Even a pound jackpot seemed a fortune in those days. Mind you, it actually probably was. All the sound of those coins, those coin sweepers. They used to push your money, and you'd hear all these coins rattling, but they were all going down the side. And when you looked at the pay tray, you saw nothing, or you cheered as like 2 pennies dropped in your favour. And here comes the worst bell of all. Last orders bell with the landlord yelling, "Come on, have you all got homes to go to?" The pinball machine still rattling away, and the worn-out records repeatedly playing on the jukebox before the volume faded as it was time for chucking out time. You get home in the evening, relax to the radio and hear that hum of the radio set amplifier, or the crackling and the popping of those records on the player. And if you fell asleep in the armchair after TV closed down following the national anthem, you'll be woken up to a loud whistling noise that was broadcast to let you know it's time to switch off that TV and climb those wooden hills and go to bed. And all that could be heard in the still of the nights as you slept was that ticking mantel clock in the living room, and its occasional Westminster chimes, and the ticking of your bedside alarm clock, all set for the next day. As the furniture and the wooden stairs creaked as the house cooled and calmed, we knew every sound. But before you're going to go to bed, I just want to remind you of a sound that was typically English or British, and suddenly it just changed. Don't know when it was, and it became Americanized. And that was the sound of the police car. That sound that was just so typically in every movie that you knew it was an English or a British film. Changed it, didn't they? Have a listen to this. And on that note, I shall thank you so much again for watching this video. Till the next time, bye for now.